be conscious of. And that is why the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers has thought it fit and proper to set today aside to enable all of us to celebrate our women, particularly in the capital market. What exactly are we celebrating? That's the fundamental questions. We are celebrating three major things. One, we want to uphold feminist values. Feminist values. That's what we are upholding. Two, we want to celebrate excellence in humanhood. Without women, there will be no human being. That is natural, and that is settled, even biblically. Three, we want to celebrate stellar achievements of our women globally. Many of them have distinguished themselves in various walks of life. We've seen them at topmost level of their careers. We've seen them as role models at different intervals. Even in Nigeria today, we've seen a lot of heights that ladies have attained. Gone are the days, culturally, when we say women's education ends in kitchen. There is nothing like that again. And ladies have proved themselves that what is it that men can do that they cannot do. We've seen a lady as a head of state. At least in Nigeria today, we've seen ladies as deputy governor. And I will not be surprised, very soon we'll be seeing governors among the ladies. We have in our midst, physically, the chief host for the day. That is the president and chairman of council, Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers, our own Mr. Olatunde Amolegbe. Can we please give an applause? We also have very senior stockbrokers among us, including one of our past presidents, Chief Michael Itebuji. Oga Michael Itebuji is quickly connected with our minister. Okay, that is humility. Oga clocked 70 recently. Another round of applause, please. Thank you, sir. Mrs. Ebi is among the top-notch council members. Mrs. Ebi, you are welcome, ma. Our young and ebullient people on the council, and they are also senior brokers because they are fellow as well. We have Mrs. Lillian Olubi. Applause. And our own Fiona Ahime. Applause, please. Now, the way we are going to tackle today's assignment is to have a main speaker who will be making a main presentation. Promoting gender equality as a core value in the Nigerian capital market. This is the driving force on which every speaker will drive. The main speaker will soon be around. That's the former Director General of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, Professor Ndi Okereke Oyuke, ON. She's very close by. She's going to deliver the main paper, and we also have a team of panelists that someone else will introduce. Today is Women's Day. I don't want to go too far, turning myself to the master of ceremony or turning myself to the moderator. However, I would like to invite the President and Chairman of Council, Mr. Olatunde Amolegbe, FCS, to deliver his welcome address. The President, sir.
Thank you very much for that kind introduction, Mr. Wini. Distinguished past residents of the CIS, our invited guests, distinguished stockbrokers, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very delighted to welcome you all to this very important event, symbolizing the celebration of women generally and our female colleagues in the Nigerian capital markets in particular. There's a traditional saying in the stockbroking community that there's no woman on the trading floor of the exchange, and that irrespective of gender, all stockbrokers are city gentlemen. This tradition actually underlines the fact that the Nigerian capital market has not always been gender friendly. But with the ascent of the likes of our honored guest today, Professor Ndi Okereke ON, that has started to change in a very dramatic fashion. So when you see stockbrokers being called city gentlemen today, it is actually a nod towards gender neutrality rather than an attempt to rank one gender over another. It is certainly not my intention to change that time-honored tradition that we have grown to be very proud of, but let me make this very important additional clarification. The Nigerian capital market fully embraces our women folks. In fact, we have a very large number of women in the membership of the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers, and at the very topmost level of the industry for upward of close to 3 decades now. The likes of doyens such as Mrs. Elizabeth Ebi, Dr. Mrs. Agnes Adiniro, Mrs. Mudupe Dada, and our most beloved Professor Mrs. Ndi Okereke ON, who are very much part of the foundation of the Institute and has worked very hard to get other brilliant ladies to write and pass the CIS stockbroking examinations. For over a century now, the world has celebrated International Women's Day every year on March 8th. And in 1975, the day was officially adopted by the United Nations as a worldwide celebration of women's rights. The main aim of the IWD are threefold. 1, to empower women of all ages around the world. 2, to celebrate the achievements of women around the world. And 3, to encourage actions on issues of gender equality. Okay. So welcome Professor Ndi Okereke to our meet. You are welcome, Prof. Thank you. It's okay. You are welcome, Madam. Gender equality, as we are aware of, is one of the sustainable development goals of the United Nations. It has been revealed severally that globally, women constitute about 60% of the illiterate population and earn 25 to 40% less than men in most jobs. This certainly has to change. May I assure you that the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers is committed to the ideals of gender equality. In fact, I'm proud to say that the Nigerian capital market is a remarkable exception when it comes to gender equality. As we all know, our own Professor Ndi Okereke was a long-serving Director General of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Also, The apex regulatory body of the Nigerian capital market has had 2 female DGs till date, in the persons of Mrs. Aruma Ote and Mrs. Mary Udo, FCS. The likes of Mrs. Titi Ogunbeson, Mrs. Lilian Olubi, Mrs. Fiona Ahime, Mrs. Nkole Edoka, and the likes of Mrs. Amda Amba and Mrs. Yemisi Edu are just some of the outstanding young female CEOs we have in the Nigerian capital markets and the Nigerian financial sector. This is not forgetting the likes of Ajia Ajara Adiola, who is also blazing the trail in the asset management sector of the business. Just listing out the names of outstanding women in Nigerian capital market will take practically the entire duration of this webinar. So I guess it is better for me to allow the ladies to blow their own trumpets. CIS decides to organize this webinar as a further demonstration of our faith in our women folk. A very large number of our members and students are women. Perhaps I should reveal further that a woman, in the person of Mrs. Rosemary Olorunishola of the NDIC, was one of the 3 initial prize winners of the CIS Professional Stockbroking Examinations. We are, however, not there yet regarding achieving gender equality within our institutes and our industry. I look forward to the day when we have similar numbers of each gender constituting our membership body. And I also earnestly look forward to the day a female member of our institute will not only become a principal officer of the institute, but will actually become our president, chairman of council. That will be the day when I will believe real progress has been achieved. Ladies and gentlemen, lest I usurp the role of our eminent speakers, permit me to pause at this point so that you can enjoy the rest of the event. I assure you there's a whole lot of information, education, and entertainment awaiting you. It is therefore my pleasure to officially declare this event open. Please enjoy yourself and welcome.
heart of the matter. I said earlier, today is Women's Day, so there shouldn't be any attempt by a man to take over their business from them. It is on this note that I would like to invite the master of ceremony, co-moderator. The market is blessed with some wonderful high flyers. And when we have an event like this, it is always necessary to tap into their talents. It is my pleasure to introduce to you a lady that will drive what I call the heart of the matter. She will have the prerogative to introduce the key speaker, and thereafter the key speaker will kickstart the whole program. Gentlemen of the press, gentlemen of the city, distinguished participants online globally, we introduce the Chief Executive Officer, FBN Quest Securities, Mrs. Fiona Ahime, FCS, a member of council, member of Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers. Mrs. Ahime, please. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Happy International Women's Day. It's our day. We are going in for equality. We thank the CIS for providing this forum for this discussion, and we are very excited to have the amazing and Amazons of industry championing this cause. Joining me this morning to discuss equality as a core value is formidable women who have made strides in their profession in the capital market. On the panel this morning is our own very Professor Ndi Okereke, FCS, OON, who is the immediate past Director General of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, and the first woman to hold that position as well. On the panel again is Mrs. Elizabeth Ngozi Eri, FCS, the first woman stockbroker on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. On the panel as well, we have Mrs. Lillian Ruby, who is the CEO of EFG Homes Nigeria Limited. So we did not leave out the young ones, the millennials, and on the panel is Mrs. Emile Olitime, who is the MD of Cardinal Store Securities. We know that we cannot achieve this thing without our men. We need the support of the men in this stride, and because of that, we have our amiable gentleman, a professional to the core, Mr. Michael Teboje, FCS. Mr. Michael is also a past president of the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers, Nigeria. So we have a very distinguished panelist, and we are going to forward ahead to see how we can create equality as a core value in the Nigerian capital market. I will tell you, they say charity begins at home, and the President has mentioned multiple achievements by women in the capital market, but I must tell you we are very far cry from where we need to be. On the Council of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, for example, there are 27 members, only 4 of them are women. I think Prof. Ndokorike is the only woman who has held the principal officer position, when she started this, and no woman has been there. Hello. No woman has been there. So we need to change this. We need to shift it a bit. Look at Nigerian Stock Exchange. How many women are in the helms of affairs? Look at SEC. Yes, we have a DJ, acting DJ who was a woman. If you take that out, how many other women are there? Look at FMDQ. How many women are championing activities there? Action is also there. How many women are there? So even though there's sites here and there seeing what women are doing, it is just not anywhere near equal. It's not even up to 20%, especially in the capital market. So this discourse is just basically to see how we can foster and build equality in the capital market. Thank you so much. Starting out is our own Prof. Indio Okereke. Her profile is so long. I am privileged to be reading her profile. So please, madam, give me permission to go ahead, my humble self. Okay, so Miss Indio Okereke, like I mentioned earlier, is the immediate past Director General of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. And she's the first woman. She's an alumnus of the Queen's College and a first-class graduate of Finance and Computer Science from City University of New York. She has also obtained her Master's Business MBA, specializing in Finance and Computer Science. Later earned a Doctor of Philosophy as well as a Doctor of Business Administration in Finance and Securities Markets from the Graduate School of the City University. She has been an exchange manager, system consultant at the New York Stock Exchange before joining the Nigerian Stock Exchange in 1983. And thereafter, she rose to the position of Director General in 2000. And I mean, if you look at the history of the market, the Nigerian capital market really started off, picked up activities that period. So what a woman can do. She set the tone, set the pace for the market to be what it is today. During her time serving on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, she was instrumental to the digitalization of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. The ATS, CSCS, all were bettered under her rule. Thank you. She was also the person that introduced the authorized dealership clerk learning. So the very first people that became proper stockbrokers went through her tutorship or went through that program. So Mrs. Evie, I'm sure you had gone through that. That's what, yeah, thank you. So I mean, she's a woman that wears many hats. She's made magnificent contributions to the Nigerian capital market. And this morning, we are so excited to have her. So, you know, later she started it, she's contributed so much. Madam, how do we move forward from here? How do we drive gender equality? So I'll now hand over to Professor Indio Okereke, OON. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, let's keep clapping for this amazing woman.
Thank you very much, and a good morning to everybody, our president in particular, and a lot of my old friends I've seen today. I actually had a paper to present, but Shalauni, now when I called him, I said, what's this all about? What do I do? He said, Madam, we are going seriously according to time, 1 hour only. So if I know you, when you start speaking, 3 hours is gone. But nobody will fall asleep anyway. But yeah, you can't present a paper. He prepared something for me, but he said you can't present a paper because it's a webinar and everybody has to talk. So I won't spend more than 10 minutes. And we can give you the paper later on. The greetings have been held, but because this is my first time of formally addressing the chartered stockbrokers, I'll take the normal greeting of 4 people. The president and chairman of our council, Chartered Stockbroker himself, Mr. Olatunde Amolegbe, a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers. We cut it short by saying FCS. Distinguished council members of our CIS, the registrar and CEO, Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Adedeji Ajadi, who is also a fellow of the Institute, my highly revered city gentlemen, and when I say city gentlemen for the audience, it includes the male and the female stockbrokers. The title worldwide, which we learned from the New York Stock Exchange, the first one, they used to be only women, so they addressed themselves as city gentlemen. Now they have a lot of women there. They still haven't changed it from city gentlemen. So we are all city gentlemen. And then our partners in progress, I thought the journalists would be here, but they are not here. But we always mention them because whatever we say to ourselves, unless the journalists take it out, the public will not hear it. So that is why we honor them. We always have them with them in everything we do. The theme of this webinar is also consistent with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 5, which focuses on how to achieve gender equality and empowerment of women and girls. The unique theme of this year's International Women's Day has opened the floodgates of how we stockbrokers, no gender, we are all stockbrokers, how we can effectively achieve the core value of gender equality in the capital markets and the whole of the financial district of Nigeria. We have to do this by ourselves, as there's no freebie, no free lunch anywhere. Nobody will hand over power or equality to you. You just have to grab it, take it, and just make it happen. And this is what I always teach the ladies, the younger ladies, that don't expect people to promote you. You have to promote yourself first. You can walk up to your boss and say, look, boss, I've been doing this work, and you tell me that my job is excellent. But it's 4 years now, and I have not seen the action. You have not promoted me. What did I do wrong? You keep telling me I'm doing well. So I think I need a promotion, don't you? And you'll be surprised what the man will do. But you see, a fellow woman, she will also do the same. Maybe their conscience, the person's conscience will touch him that, yes, this woman has been working very hard, even in some cases harder than the men. And I keep promoting the men. Why won't I promote her? And then you get your promotion. So don't keep your mouth shut, ladies. When you think you have earned some recognition, go quietly and tell somebody who will promote it for you. Because if you start shouting loud by yourself, they may misunderstand you. But there are a lot of men that are ready and willing to lift you up if you just call their attention to the fact that you have not been lifted up. So there's no need to quarrel with them. You are in a man's world. Stock market is a man's world. It will take a long, long time, generations to come, maybe another 100 years for it to become really equal. So we have to pamper the men to get what we want. In doing so, I give you a simple example, what I call the sixth sense, or what the women in the New York Stock Exchange used to call the sixth sense. I mentioned our mothers used to apply this sixth sense to get more housekeeping money from our fathers in those days when the women were not working. We're not getting paid for the work they were doing. The women were working more than the men, but they were not getting paid. So to get the money, they have to be nice. Use the sixth sense. So that's the focus on what the brief I'm going to give today, because I understand I have just a few minutes. It is the same method that I chose in bringing women into the capital market of Nigeria. I just refined it and adopted it, and it resulted in the National Council of the Nigerian Stock Exchange and the Board of SEC. They had no choice but to accept. And I'll give you, and I tell you what happened, what I did. Approving women should be allowed to sit for the, approving women means the women will be allowed to sit for the qualifying written and oral exam, which is already taking place for a couple of, over 10, 15, you were in the first set. No, this you were in the first set. Was it 1988? 81? 91? Oh, you take what you people were unfair. Yes, I started in 88, but you people allowed it 91. So I'm very happy that in 1991, the women qualified and wrote both the written and oral examination to become stockbrokers and city gentlemen. The scenario with that sixth sense I was talking about is as follows. Ndi Okereke Onyuke, a female executive at the Nigerian Stock Exchange and a chartered stockbroker, who was brought by late Sir Bank Anthony and a few council members of the then proposed Nigerian Stock Exchange to New York. They came to New York Stock Exchange to look for somebody to help them set up the stock exchange properly. And by chance, I was on the trading floor, minding my business, and they saw a black woman and said, you people allow blacks here, plus woman too. A woman? What is the woman doing there? I see she's not serving coffee. What is she doing? She's the one teaching them. She was the one teaching the stockbrokers. And they were quite flabbergasted, and the rest is history. They thought I was summoned, and I was panicking. Why I was summoned, that I'd never even gone near the floor where the president of Stock Exchange, John McGee, used to be. And then they took me there, and the rest was history. Now, when I came, I now realized there were no women there. And I said I used the sixth sense. So at this board meeting, because I was invited by a personal leader, my boss at that time, to attend board meetings so that I will get used to what they do, and so that if you don't know what they're doing wrongly, you cannot suggest improvement. So that was why, even though I was a manager, the title they gave me at that time, but I sat as a council member. Not a member of council, but I sat there to listen to them. So, Ndi was a female chartered stockbroker, but she's not allowed to deal in Nigeria at that time. And so, the same Ndi organized the training for stockbroking for stockbrokers who wanted Nigerians who wanted to be stockbrokers. And when the day came, they were all men. All men, not a single woman. So this same Ndi lectures the prospective all male student stockbrokers, teach them the courses, including the practical of trading on the floor, sets examination questions, marks all the papers alone, announces the written results, which the council accepts with no questions, constitutes a panel of oral exam of which she is the co-chairman, because they wouldn't allow a woman alone to chair it. It has to be with a man, even though the man didn't know anything about stockbroking. Announces the final results of both the written and oral exams and publishes names of successful candidates as the new stockbrokers. Yet, a woman or women were not allowed to sit for the examination. So this went on a couple of years. So the very year that Mrs. Lizzie Abbey, and 3 others. Mrs. Evelyn Brumi and 2 others. They qualified from the lectures to now sit for the exam. It was a turning point for the women folk. All the candidates before these women, that day, the council instructed the DG that only the male candidates will take exam, and that they will give the women their own separately. And so, when the council decides, so the women that were supposed to take exam didn't take exam. So all the candidates were male, and all the candidates failed the written exam. So nobody was invited for the oral exam. So no new stockbrokers were inducted, and all hell broke loose. And I was summoned before an emergency council meeting. These men held an emergency council meeting to, I don't know whether to flog me or to sack me. I just got in there. And then the president and chairman of the board roared, really roaring at me. He said, Dr. Mrs. Njoke Konyuke, how come all the candidates failed? Very humble and politely, I answered, simply put, sir, 35 brilliant men sat for the examination which women are not allowed to sit for. A foolish woman who doesn't know anything. That foolish woman you saw on the trading floor of the New York Stock Exchange and sent for and recruited into the stock exchange, helped develop the Nigerian stock market, decided that all the men failed. Why? Because since women are not allowed to sit for the stockbroker's exam, in spite of the fact that a woman teaches the brilliant men, sets the written exam for the men, marks the exam papers for the men, conducts